Oh, hello, this is Tak Chung from Walk with Tak. Welcome to our YouTube channel. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and share. Feel free to write to me at walkwithtak@gmail.com if you have any question regarding to this video or any other videos that I have posted in the past. If you have any videos that you would like me to make, please let me know. I'm looking forward to hearing from you. If you enjoy pork and would like to use pork in your stir fry, and this video probably is some video that you will find it interesting. Recently, I talked to my cousin because I would like to try stir-fry pork, and somebody has asked me what kind of cut is best for stir-frying pork. When I talked to my cousin, I was surprised to find that she told me that pork butt is the best kind. Now, the pork butt is actually quite inexpensive. In fact, it's probably one of the least expensive cut. Most people use it for a roast. Now, when I asked my cousin why this is so good for stir-frying, her answer is that you want to have some fat. Now, most pork, such as pork chop, there has very little fat in it. And in this case, actually, it's very hard to stir-fry them because of the dryness. So most of the time, when people who do stir-fry pork chop, they have to hammer it. They beat it up, and so that to soften the texture, to make it softer. Otherwise, it will become dry and stringy. However, pork butt is very different. When you look at pork butt, you notice that there's quite a bit of fat in it. And she told me that this actually will make your stir-fried pork taste delicious. Now, I decided I'm going to give it a try. So I went and bought some pork butt. Now, the pork butt turned out to be really economical. It's probably one of the most inexpensive cut. For example, this entire roast cost me only about $15, and it on average I find that most places you can buy pork butt for about somewhere between $2 to $3 a pound, which is really inexpensive. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how I'm going to stir fry it. And the first thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to coat it with my Walk with Tak basic seasoning mix. This will give it a little bit better flavor. And then I'm going to coat it with a thin layer of cornstarch. Now, the cornstarch is always great for the standpoint is that it will absorb moisture from the meat. Now, it's very clear if your meat is moist, it's going to reduce the temperature of the oil, and that will prevent it from searing properly. I also add a touch of sugar. This is a secret that I learned from my cousin. She said that if you add sugar, it will cause the meat to caramelize. The cornstarch will also create a light breading. So this will really give your meat better flavor. But more importantly is that the cornstarch has a tendency to protect the meat from the high heat of the oil. And the end result is that your meat tends to be more tender and moist. So I'm going to give this a try. Now, this method is very common to stir fry any other type of meat, such as beef, lamb, and venison. And I believe this is probably will work for pork as well. Now, in the past, I have stir-fried pork chop, and I cut them into pieces. Or I also have stir-fried pork loin, and both of these meats are very lean. And the problem is that I discovered that quite often it becomes tough because the lack of fat in the meat. It's just like in beef. The marbling plays a very important role in determining the texture of the beef. Now, the method I'm going to use to stir-fry this is a method that I use for other type of meat, which I refer to as shallow frying. Basically, what I do is that I'm going to fry the pork on one side first before I turn it over to fry the other side. Now, this method turned out to be really great because it will allow you to sear the meat. And so, in this case, I use my Cuisinart 14-inch stainless steel wok. And this turned out to be really the perfect wok for this type of purpose. The reason for that is that the wok has a relatively large bottom surface area. And for this reason, this type of wok is also known as wok pan because it's almost like a small frying pan. In fact, the diameter of the bottom surface of the wok is about 7.5 inches across, which actually is about the size of a small frying pan. And in this case, it's just the right size for me to spread out the pork on the surface. Now, the reason for this shallow frying is really to sear the pork. And because by laying them on the flat surface with the high heat, you notice that it seared it very rapidly. As soon as I turn over, you notice that the back side of the pork, already has been browned. And this actually will allow you to keep the flavor in. Now, this method is extremely useful, and I use it for stir-fried beef, for lamb, for venison. They all work very well. Now, when you cook meat, there are basically 2 steps. Now, of course, different meats has different type of characteristics of how they're going to react to the cooking process. But the basic step is the same. The first step is that you want to sear the surface of the meat. That will seal in the flavor. And this is the reason that you want to keep the meat as dry as possible, because any moisture that you introduce to the surface of the meat, it will reduce the temperature of the oil. And of course, the lower the temperature, the less likely for it to be seared. Now, usually the second step is that you want to cook the meat slowly once you sear it, because that will allow the meat to be tenderized. And so this actually can be carried out by using vegetables. So in this case, I'm going to use some broccoli. Now you notice that I did not blanch this broccoli like I have done in the past. The reason is because I'm going to cook the broccoli for quite a little bit longer than I normally would, because the pork is only about, at this point, is about 50% done. So it will take about a couple minutes to cook the pork to the texture that I want. And in this case, it will also cook the broccoli to the texture that I desire. Using this method, I'm able to coordinate the cooking of both the pork and the broccoli at the same time to allow me to achieve the perfect texture that I want. Now, if I sear the pork for too long, then the broccoli would not be long enough for to cook it. But if I blanch the broccoli in advance, then in this case, by the time when I get the pork to the texture that I want, the broccoli will become overcome or too soft. So there is a strategy that is involved. And when you're using different kinds of meat, different type of vegetables, by understanding the texture that you would like to achieve at the end will really help you to decide how you're going to approach it. And each type of vegetable, each kind of meat will provide a slightly different type of strategies. Now you notice that at the bottom of the wok, I have some of the cornstarch burned to the bottom surface of the wok. Now this actually flavorful, and it will add to the flavor of the dish. So the approach to do that is that to use a method which I call it spot cleaning, or sometimes people call it deglazing, is that I put a very small amount of water. In this case, the water is kept in this squeeze bottle, because this will allow you to more precisely to deposit the amount that you want. Now, when you add only a small amount of water at a time, right over the surface where you have the burn material, your wok spatula will allow you to do the job. I use it as a scraper. It is perfect to scrape off any material that might have burned to the surface of the wok. And next, I think by this time, everything is cooked to the texture that I want. So I'm going to season the dish. Again, use a combination, something that I'm very familiar with, which I really enjoy. It's a combination of oyster sauce, which I use about 1 to 2 tablespoons of oyster sauce to about 1 tablespoon of hoisin sauce. I love this combination. It's very straightforward, and they contain really all the ingredients that I want, and it provides the flavor that I like. And most importantly is that by adjusting the ratio between the oyster sauce and hoisin sauce, I can create a wide range of flavor that will allow me to adapt to the different type of ingredients. And next, I am adding some white mushroom. The white mushroom, as you can see, I added right at the end of the cooking process. The reason is very simple, because I want to only cook the mushroom very lightly. Okay, I continue to make adjustment to the sauce by adding some additional water. Right now, most of the whatever that's stuck at the bottom of the wok has pretty much all cleaned off. At this point, what I'm trying to do is that just to adjust the fluid to have the consistency of the sauce that I want. And I want it to be light enough so that I can use it over rice, which what we're going to serve this dish with. So as you can see, this dish is very fast to cook. Again, advanced prepping plays an important role because I already have the pork cut up and I freeze them in such a way that I can thaw them out in about 10 minutes or less. And this allows me to go from freezer to the wok in a very short time. I have a number of proteins available in my freezer. I have chicken, beef, lamb, venison, and all of this are all within the time frame that I would like to have them available. And usually they are available to me in about 10 minutes. And I also have different type of seafood, such as shrimp, fish, including salmon, and also some fish that my friend gave to me that they caught in the river or in the lake, which when they go fishing. So basically, I have many different kinds of proteins available to me. But importantly, as you probably noticed, is that the protein that I use mainly as a condiment rather than as the main ingredient. A vegetable is the primary ingredient because I believe that vegetable is really important in our health in general. The consumption of vegetable will provide us with the fiber that we need. And also the complex flavor of the vegetable will allow us to reach greater satiation. So consequently, we will eat less calorie, but without feeling hungry. And that's the most important thing. It's truly the critical aspect is that to eat a balanced diet, not only from nutritional standpoint, but also from a culinary standpoint, that you can enjoy the food that you eat. And if you can make healthy food taste great, you got it all made. So I post a video each day to help you to make home cooking as part of your daily routine using my fast cooking system so that home cooking becomes practical, efficient, creative, and fun for you. So every time when you walk into the kitchen, you can cook with spontaneity and intuition. So keep on cooking, and I will see you tomorrow.